I think we got some people joining us tonight. Cool. All right. Well, we are live in Facebook, so we'll give people a few minutes to join on tonight. I just want to take a moment and thank everyone for taking some time out of their day and joining us for yet another live. I know we just did a couple the last 2 nights, and those were huge and they were wildly successful, and I'm happy to help each and every one of you. But tonight we have a special guest with us. Andrea is joining us tonight to talk about diet and nutrition, and most importantly, how to not always live inside of a diet. If you have followed us for any length of time, you know we are always really big on that. So I thought it would be awesome to bring Andrea in and have her give like just a fresh perspective on everything. So welcome, Andrea. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be there, and it's one of my favorite topics to be talking about. So
awesome. All right. So how did you come into the nutrition space, Andrea?
yeah, so I'll try to give you like the abbreviated
The condensed version.
So actually I was a classroom teacher for 21 years. I just left the profession in June.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So it's very exciting right now. But yeah, I was kind of like kind of dipped my toe in my early 20s. Definitely in the beginning was driven by a lot of insecurity, and really just looking for aesthetic goals that were probably really unrealistic, especially at that time. But at that time, like I really could not find good information. I mean, there was a lot of information. That was about 20 years ago. But it was out there, and man, my road was like really winding and like a lot of pitfalls, and did a lot of fad dieting, a lot of fad workout regime. And so really just kind of took the long route to finally kind of landing in reality. And so that really started me wanting to help people kind of shorten that distance between, wanting to get healthy or having body composition goals, but not having to do all the things to get there before they find what works for them. Teaching at the same time is a tough profession, and I knew I wanted to eventually leave, not because I didn't like teaching, but because to be a good teacher, you really do burn out. Just requires a lot of you emotionally, mentally, physically. And so I just knew like I would have a second career. It wasn't even like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. It was like, there'll be a natural progression. So it just kind of all came together where I got to a point where I was like, I feel like I really want to help people now in this area, and really, again, let's help them shortcut a lot of the things that I did and kind of detrimental things that I did. So been spending some time the last like 5 years, like building towards this career change. So here I am.
So exciting. I'm so happy that you're in a space now where you're able to do this full time. I think that's just something that's going to be super exciting for you.
Yes, unless I don't even know how like I did the last year, like teaching full time and coaching, full time. It was, but you do what you got to do, and it was very exciting, and I wouldn't trade it. So
right. No, I'm sure. So with your particular area that you're focusing on, it's more on the side of teaching sustainability, isn't it?
Yeah, and really just getting away from dogma, because I felt like that was my big hiccup, was always finding myself in these camps where it was very black and white and rules, and where I'm a rule follower, I'm very much a perfectionist. I am drawn to that. It's not helpful also, even though it may be how my personality is. It backfires quite a bit. And that, we went through the same certifications, had the same mentors. So I know you have the same ideas in terms of like, there are many ways to find health. And that's important that we don't get stuck in like a very black and white mindset. And so, yeah, helping people like let go of that and understand they have very unique variables that they bring to the table, and they should listen and look at those and match nutrition to those pieces, because that's where you'll find success, not necessarily in a do and don't list. so much. So
Right. No, that's true. And I think it's super important too to bring clarity, because if you look at like the big picture of where our world is today, there's so much just like noise everywhere inside of the fitness industry. And really like a lot of that is old, outdated, and just really super inaccurate information. And like you said, it's black and white. It's like, do this or you'll never lose weight. Or if you do this, then that's bad. And then you have to feel guilty and you'll never reach your goal. And really so much of that isn't true, like at all.
yes, I actually like in my social media profile, my I guess tagline, I don't know, it's not really, but it's just like demystifying nutrition and
Mm,
fitness because I found myself, really confused. Like I'd hear one person say one thing and then somebody say the
mhm.
complete opposite. And it was like, how can both of these people be so adamant that what they're saying is correct? So, trying to help people just cut through that and like get people to understand foundations rather than dogma, because I honestly believe no matter what your bend is, there are some foundational pieces that just will be there no matter what. So,
Right. No, that's absolutely true. So when we speak about foundational pieces, what would that look like for just a typical person?
yeah. So, in terms of just nutrition, I honestly really preach for people that like you need some quality, like there needs to be quality in the diet and there needs to be some way to quantify. And that's really to me, however you approach those things, as long as those two things are there, like you're going to find what works for you, right? Like there has to be a high level of quality. Doesn't mean everything you eat is perfect, but we're eating fresh whole foods a majority of the time, not all the time, right? And then we find some way to quantify because we know part of the problem is that we are overeating. So we should be aware. And it doesn't mean you track or, weigh and measure everything. Sure, that works really well for some people. Some people it's great for a time period, and some people never want to do that. And that's totally fine. My goal is to help people just find some way to like, understand portions and what's appropriate for them. So
Right. Yeah,
um,
no, I think there's so many different ways to be able to, like you said, quantify the portions. And a lot of that is just number one, you have to bring awareness. Like if you don't know what you're eating, you don't know what to adjust. And I'm sorry, but waiting until the end of the day to write down on a piece of paper or enter into my fitness pal or whatever what you ate is crap, and it doesn't work because it's 95% inaccurate. You don't, I don't even remember. Like if I waited to the end of the day, I would be like, did I eat that or did I not eat that? Did I finish my lunch or did like I leave half of it on my plate? I don't know. That's how unimportant it is when we have millions of other things going through our minds every day.
exactly. And I also have like just personally, I do love to learn about finance. And I always find that to be a great analogy for nutrition. And it's like you would never just go on a shopping spree and then decide to check your bank account, right?
No,
Or
that's true. That's true.
you're gonna go make a big purchase. Let's just say, I'm gonna look at my funds before I go buy a car. So, we do it in other ways where we do have some awareness around our intake, whatever that is, before we have our output, right? And so I think some people like to be, or some people get caught up in the neuroses of it, but like I think there's a healthy place to be, like you said, to just be aware because you wouldn't just not be aware of your spending habits. So
No.
there's a healthy middle ground where you have at least some intentionality around your food. So
Right. Intention around food. I love that. That's like when we recommend that they pre-plan what you're going to eat for the next day. Like just take 5 minutes, sit down, figure out, write it down, put it in your food diary, whatever, but know what you're going to eat the next day. And then that not only brings that awareness to what you're eating, but it also removes the stress of, oh my God, what am I going to eat today? Because all you have to do is look at what you wrote down and it's like, oh, I have a plan.
right.
Yeah.
And if you have, targets, and some of my clients do have certain targets, I always tell them, like, don't get to the end of the day and be like, oh no, I've got like 100 grams of protein I still have to eat. That's not really setting yourself up for success. So, pre-planning, I always encourage, yeah, do that the night before. I encourage people to eat very similarly, just to like get in the habit of like understanding portion sizes. And then I also am very, like we talked a little bit about sustainability. Having that awareness allows you those fun foods
Mhm.
that definitely can be there. I think I love having a little something, at the end of the day, but I have already made sure, most of my food has been nutritious food. So like, who cares? I can
Right.
absolutely, fit something in, and that being intentional allows that. And it allows it to be a small portion and not allow me to
Right.
get crazy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's funny. I like to do mine after lunch. But my
Okay.
day's like super, super long. So I think that by the time I get to lunch, I'm like, oh, this is good. And I'm starving and
Yes.
and I just need, something to get me through for the rest of the day. So I like to do mine after lunch.
For sure. So
Awesome. So we have actually quite a few people that are on Facebook. If you're here on Zoom with us and you have questions, you can absolutely unmute and ask a question. You can drop it in the chat box and we'll get those answered. We've got on Facebook, Chase says a less than perfect diet done consistently will be more beneficial than a perfect diet done inconsistently. And that is 1000%.
Amen.
Right?
yes, yes. I'm always trying to help my clients understand that, just because I think there's just this myth out there that in order to be healthy or even reach certain goals, you have to be perfect. And that
Mm.
it's honestly probably the worst thing you could go into something like that with, because you will mess up. Life, I'm always telling people, like, life will mess you up. So you need to just embrace that, accept that. And I like when that stuff happens, because then I get better at adjusting and,
Oh,
having a
yeah.
plan C, so.
Right. Yeah.
And
Oh, go ahead.
no, yeah, I was just confirming. Yes. Amen to that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, something though that you just brought up, that's a whole different mindset though, because when we have something that is challenging to us, that signals to us that, oh my God, we really better get our shit together because we have this, unexpected stressor going on. So then we can make those adjustments to continue to go in that direction that we want to go. But that generally isn't what happens inside of, the general population. Something comes up and they're like, oh shit, let's throw it all in the trash now because I can't cope with this anymore. Yeah. So it's like, it shift, there has to be a big perception shift too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not realistic, right? And I think as and I work daily on my perfectionist mindset, because I know how detrimental that really is to me. I mean, there's definitely times where it's helpful for me to be meticulous, but in general, it doesn't actually help me move forward. I end up kind of like shooting myself in the foot, because I'm so fixated on perfection that I miss, the forest for the trees, basically. So it's funny. I always feel like maybe, being leaders in the space, we end up attracting people like ourselves, right? And so a lot of the people who come my way are also perfectionists. So, it's great in terms of like helping me also like hear my own advice to, encourage people, like, that's not even necessary. Like, nothing in life actually requires your perfection. So
That is true. That's such a very good point. We have some more comments on Facebook. Okay. Oh, it's Chase. Chase also says the ghost calories are getting me, such as oils, sauces, dressings, etc. They're ghosts because they aren't readily seen, but they're haunting. They add up super fast.
they do. What's funny is I'm doing like a series on Instagram where I'm just kind of breaking down different restaurants, because I absolutely understand that people have to eat out. And so I want to provide some guidance in terms of like, well, hey, if you're going to go to Chipotle, here's some options. Hey, and here's some things to be careful of. And one of those is that the white rice is actually made with oil.
Mhm.
And that's really just so it doesn't stick, but you can actually ask them, hey, like, can I have the white steamed rice? Because they have it in the back. So yeah, like those little things people don't realize, like, yeah, they're putting oil and a lot of things, butter, just to like increase obviously flavor and texture and all that good stuff. But
Yeah, they
um,
do.
yeah. So
Yeah, and the vegetables are another place they get you, because you'll go and I know like a lot of our people would just ask for, can I get a side of broccoli? Because that's pretty common at like almost every restaurant, but those are always sprayed with a butter solution in the back of the restaurant. So you have to ask to have them please not do that and just give you steamed broccoli.
yes, yes. And I think, to that point too, is being our own advocates and just speaking up and asking those questions, because, you're the customer. And I tell
Mhm.
people this all the time, don't feel bad, like they would like for you to continue to come there. So it would behoove them obviously to grant your request. So ask those questions.
Mhm.
Uh, I think that a majority of the time they're more than happy to accommodate you to create a repeat customer. So
Yes. No, I absolutely agree. And like even as far as the servers go, like just like, it doesn't mean that because something is, you're asking for a special request that we have to be rude about it, as long as we are presenting things nicely and in a reasonable manner. Most requests get granted quite easily.
oh yeah.
I worked in the service industry for 18 years, and I've heard a lot of strange requests, but for the most part, like there was never a problem. There was one lady one time that wanted the grill washed before we cooked her food. That obviously didn't happen, but that was like the weirdest thing that I've ever heard.
Hey, and all the worst that's going to happen is you say no, which you
Right,
obviously
yes, which we did because we weren't doing that.
likes a little too much.
Yeah, it was a little too much. Yeah, but I feel, most requests are not on that end of the spectrum, so most things are quite easily accommodated.
For sure.
Cool. All right. Anyone else have questions? Anyone here on the call with us on Zoom? We don't have any more on Facebook right now. So, as far as like we have, the clients and they come in and we need to have some sort of assessment or understanding of what they're getting in food wise so that you can make appropriate adjustments there. Planning is always good. Setting yourself up for success is good. As far as we talked a little bit about pre-planning your food, do you do anything where you encourage clients to work on meal prep so that they're successful for the whole week, or is it easier for your clients just to kind of do things on a daily basis?
Yeah. So, I mean, number one, I think every client will always be different in terms of
Yeah.
what they prefer, and then also just their lifestyle, because I've got like moms who have three littles, and then I have single young ladies who have more time, and time to put into this stuff. So that's that aside. Um, yeah, like I have some clients where I always provide some kind of structure, whether that's macros or lists of food, or I want you to structure your meal this way, or let's use some kind of like portioning in order to create your meals. And I would say, I always talk with the clients beforehand, like, okay, what's going to suit you? What's your preference? So they'll let me know. But I mean, I've seen my most successful clients are the ones that will pre-plan at least a couple days in ahead, because most of us don't have the time to be really cooking every single day. It's great. One client, she's brand new. I didn't ask her to do this, but I had given her like, hey, and we're working specifically on a few health issues that she has. So I was like, I want you to stick to these foods for right now. So gave her a structure, and then she wrote it out and sent it to me and was like, is this okay? And I was like, oh, I love this. Like, you were actually not only pre-planning, but like wanting me to look it over and give you suggestions. So I was like, I think I might be giving clients homework from now on.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning, because it's such a learning curve, especially depending on where you're coming from with food. If you have no experience putting together a purposeful plate, you could be really lost. So it was really great. She showed it to me and I was like, hey, like, yeah, this looks good, but like that lunch looked really light. Like you might want to bulk that up. Let's add some more veggies there. So it was great to kind of see that way. And then the pre-logging, I always encourage those that are actually using an app, which not all of them are, excuse me, to do that the night before. Because I'm like, as soon as you wake up, the day is gone almost, like you just hit the ground running for, I'd say 90% of people. So just put that in there. That way you have a plan, you're ready to go. And, it's like that whole idea of like decision fatigue, just take that decision off the table and go about your day, go be a productive citizen and, let this kind of take a back seat because you've pre-planned. So.
Right. No, I think that's super, super helpful. That's awesome. Your client did that though. That's really cool.
I was like, oh, wow, look at you, A+ for you.
You should like send her a little star. I don't know. Did you teach elementary school or
the beginning of my career I did. So for 8 years I was in elementary, and then the last 13 I was in junior high, which is a whole other.
Yeah, that's totally different.
Animal.
I didn't teach. I just have those ages.
I don't know what happens in junior high. They are just
well, like so many things start to change. And I think a lot of it probably has to do with like going back to the home, and so many homes are broken and kids don't get what they need, and then they come to school and they're just jerks. That's my theories on that. We have Chase asked another question. He says, I have a big surgery Monday. Is it recommended to increase carbs during recovery? Fat loss has been the goal. He's 20 pounds down. I know that's so awesome. You messaged me last week too. And I don't want to go back up, but I want to balance that with healing needs.
Yeah. I'll let you answer too. My initial reaction would be definitely carbs in terms of like nutritious carbs. So we're wanting those vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients that are going to encourage healing, but also protein, because you're going to be healing. We know structurally the body will use protein in order to help that healing process. So I'd say both of those are really important.
You're absolutely right. I know like after injury, it's recommended to increase omegas to help with inflammation, but that's something you would have to ask your doctor, because depending on the surgery, they may not want you on additional omega-3s. So that's something just to check with the doctor. But yes, I absolutely agree. Both carbohydrates and proteins are necessary for healing from a big surgery. So even though the scale might go up for a while, it will come back down. And especially if you've been dieting for a while, this goes back to all the trainings we've done on metabolic adaptation and reverse dieting. You may be in a spot where it would be beneficial for your system right now to have an increase in calories, not only to help you heal, because that's going to require additional calories, but also to help if you're starting to experience any negative adaptation. And then, once you're feeling better and you're cleared for exercise again and you're healed, you can go back to your deficit.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. Yeah, it's definitely going to be there'll be a higher need for energy coming in because your body's going to be busy at work. So I was going to add in too, like get your sleep, drink your water,
All the things.
All the things.
And listen when they tell you what you can and cannot do.
Yes. I mean, that's hard, right? Especially if you're an active person to like, oh my gosh. I think sometimes that's my worst fear is like getting an injury that takes me out. And not that I always love to work out because, we're normal people too. I need to be motivated to work out, but I try to stay as grateful for my ability to move because I would be devastated if,
Yeah, for sure. That would be hard. Any other questions? Anyone here on Zoom have any questions? Facebook has been rocking the questions tonight. That's cool.
Awesome.
Well, there was something that came to mind when you were talking about your sleep, but I've forgotten it. Chase says that he has 8 to 10 weeks recovery times where he's not going to be able to work out. Just rest. Think about it like as a giant deload. That's what I would have to do.
Yeah. I mean, and to be honest, you're not going to lose as much, whatever, I don't know how he was working out, but you're not going to lose as much as you think. The body has the ability to like bounce back very easily. I think it's more of a mental thing, especially if you really enjoy working out and moving. So that's always helpful. I mean, this last year has been incredibly stressful for me to the point where I really wasn't very consistent in the gym. It just like, I really could not be in a space of like making progress. I would just show up for my mental health and just at least, move. And now that I've quit teaching, I'd say the last 6 weeks, I've really been able to now be consistent again and start lifting again. And it's really incredible how fast, my body has gone back. I mean, the first week I really took it easy and it was really like painful to see how much strength I lost. But, within a couple weeks, I was able to then like feel like I could push myself in the intensity. And, now I feel like back to like my strength's not there, but like I feel like I can really push and like feel my best. And like that's only 6 weeks. And yet I took a year really of just not being as dedicated. I just couldn't, with all that was going on. So like you'll be fine. Like 8 weeks is really, you might actually find yourself coming back better, just giving yourself rest. So
Yeah, and especially if you're paying attention to the nutrition aspect, because I know sometimes when there's something higher stress going on that involves, taking away that exercise time, it can sometimes be harder to stay really on top of the nutrition targets. So if that's something you're paying attention to during your recovery, that'll really help to ensure too that muscle isn't just wasting. You should be able to preserve what you have and not be using that to fuel your recovery. So, I saw a question somewhere.
I think here in Zoom.
Oh, yeah. What are the best foods for forgetting what you were going to say or do? Is it carbs? I don't know if that is something that food would fix.
I'm not sure if I know. I understand the question.
Is there, let's see, is there a food that would help someone if they were forgetting like what they were saying, or if they have a tendency to forget what they're doing?
Interesting. Like off the top of my head, I'm going to go back to like, I know that like for brain health, like we want healthy fats coming in. So I would say like those monounsaturated fats like avocado, olives, olive oil, right? And just getting a variety of those. Those can also help with inflammation. So that's off the top of my head, but that's not my specialty. So I don't want to.
Yeah, no, the omegas are good for brain health. Omega-3s, like the short chain fatty acids, are the ones that cross the blood-brain barrier, so they can take nutrients to the brain. And then as far as like carbs, carbs aren't really gonna affect like memory. They do help brain function, but more on the scope of like fatigue. So like feeling like your thinking is slow or sluggish, carbs might be better able to help with that, but I wouldn't say that they're going to help with memory.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, definitely your carbs are a great source of quick energy. So I think kind of like what you're alluding to, when we're maybe low on carbohydrates, we might find ourselves a little like fuzzy or, not able to think kind of clearly. It could also just be low blood sugar in terms of not eating or so I would make sure, I think very unfortunately, very common for me to find both men and women who are not eating at regular times. Their eating patterns are very random, a lot of waiting, a long time in order before their first meal. So, all of that does affect your blood sugar and, brain function too. So maybe just looking at what are your eating patterns and, are you eating at a regular time? It doesn't mean you have to eat at the same time every day, but we should definitely have patterns because your body will get used to those patterns. So,
Right. Yeah, that's true. Like just the consistent nutrition can help with some things. But all right. Does anyone else have any questions?
I think we got another one in the.
Good.
That is a very common problem. Do you see this question?
So I noticed with myself, I hit carbs, but protein, I never seem to hit. What can I do more to hit my protein? So pre-planning helps loads. Tressa's also eating vegan, and we must pre-plan our protein or you will never hit it. So there's a training we did on protein a while back, Tressa. I can tag you on that. It's inside the group. But pre-planning your foods like helps tremendously. And then I don't remember what your protein target is, but a protein powder can help loads. And just, making sure that you get that in like first thing, and then that makes the rest of the day kind of sets you up for success. So then when you are combining foods throughout the day, just making sure that those are always things that are going to add up to that serving of protein that you need. It just takes some practice, but I'll tag you in that training on protein.
Yep, I think even if you're not vegan, vegetarian, it's still a common.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It's just not what people. It's not what you're going to gravitate towards. So, whether my clients are vegetarian or not, I'm like, you have to be intentional about it and spread it out. Again, like the example I gave, like, don't get to the end of the day and you got 100 grams. Like, that's not going to happen unless you're pounding protein powder.
Get a stomachache.
Which is not, I mean, you could do it, but it's not ideal, right? So, but definitely, like you said, using powders and little ways to just increase your protein intake. I'll tell people, okay, like in the beginning, let's just sneak it in wherever we can, maybe some collagen in your coffee, maybe you do make a dessert that's using some kind of protein powder, or and then eventually I like to move people towards more whole like food sources of protein. But eventually you'll just have like a repertoire and like know like, hey, like protein just needs to be the star, because if it's not, I'm going to probably eat like carbs and fat because they're delicious.
Right. They're so much more tasty.
Yes. So
yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think it's, I've worked with vegans and vegetarians for so long now. It just like every once in a while we will get someone that's, that isn't, and they're transitioning or they're wanting more information, just learning how to apply this. But it's still just, it like blows me away when they are still eating, all those high protein things that have virtually no carbs and no fats in them. And they're like, I can't reach my protein without going over my carbs. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yes. So, well, and that like just goes back to like, you're just very adept at it now, right? Like it's not as difficult for you. So of course, like it just seems obvious, right? Like with a majority of my clients are, they're eating a variety of like protein sources. And for me, I'm like, it's so much easier because there are literal, like just whole protein. Just go get a little half cup of cottage cheese and like, boom, like 20 grams, so.
Yeah, no, we don't have it that easy. So we do have to work at it more, but that's why that pre-planning it comes in. It's so handy, because that way, if you have your day planned and you're like, oh my God, my carbs are 50 grams over and I'm 20 grams short on protein still, then you can make those adjustments and bring some foods in and take some other foods out and work it out so that it's a much closer ratio.
Yeah. Agreed.
Anyone else have questions? We don't have any more on Facebook, I think. I keep going through Facebook on my phone because it's easier than switching in and out of screens.
Yeah, I can never get it all.
Yeah, I know. I'm always afraid I'm going to lose something. All right, awesome. Well, I think if everyone here on the call with us is good, we can go ahead and wrap things up and let Andrea go back to her night. Let everyone else go back to their night. Tuesday. That's what I get for doing lives 3 nights in a row. I don't know what day it is.
I believe me, I know. I just had mine yesterday, which is usually on Monday. That's why I'm like, oh, like I don't know what day it is.
Okay, great. Well, I think it's been fun. We've had a lot of good questions, I think, tonight. So thank you everyone that took the time to join us. Thank you, Andrea, for joining us. as far as our next training, I guess you guys gotta wait all the way until Monday. We're not doing anything else until Monday.
Need a break.
So enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you all in the group. Thanks again, Andrea, for joining us. I really
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, anytime. All right, have a great night.
All right, bye.